Harriet.
All right. I'll first ask about your general impression of what is happening in Libya.
Yeah, I think there's consensus around the continent and that what is happening is heart-wrenching, and we should have seen the scrolling on the wall. It's been so long that young people that feel let down by governments south of the Sahara, they would, traverse the Sahara Desert on quite a perilous voyage with the intention of transiting Libya and possibly crossing the Mediterranean into Lampedusa, which is an island in Italy. So you see vestiges of Libyan struggles dotted across the country. Around the BA region, when you go to Nkoranza, there are hallmarks that are named after Libya. And within this metropolis, the capital, when you go to Medina, there's a place called Libyan Quarters. So a lot of people have made quite a fortune traveling to Libya. But I would blame this squarely on the military intervention that was championed by Western powers. Libya has been bad all this while, but it's not been as bad as it is since the violent toppling of Colonel Gaddafi. So we would blame the US, the UK, France, and Italy for creating such an anarchical environment that allows people to have no recourse whatsoever for humanitarian law. You know, there is international humanitarian law that safeguards the safety of an individual against human trafficking. But as soon as there is degeneration of rule of law, then all of that is thrown to the wind. So I wouldn't want us to decouple the decadence that is happening from the root cause. Gaddafi was seen as a dictator and authoritarian. The white folks promised the Libyan people they were bringing them liberties and freedom. And again, we can't take away the Western intervention because they lied to the international community. Gaddafi, yes, made some utterances that would have bordered on ethnic cleansing or an intent to carry out ethnic cleansing. I remember one of the phrases he had was that سأزحف أنا وملايين وسنطهر ليبيا شبر شبر بيت بيت دار دار زنga zanga. He said he was going to move with millions of people and he was going to cleanse the whole of Libya inch by inch, alleyway by alleyway. So during the wee hours of the Arab Spring, when it dawned on Libya, the world felt that there were going to be atrocious crimes that would be perpetrated. So the UN Security Council provided a leeway for a form of intervention that would prevent that potential atrocity. But the white folks went beyond that. The only thing the Russians and Chinese decided not to veto was to create a no-fly zone over Libya so that the Libyan people would be protected from Gaddafi. But they went further from a no-fly zone to regime change.
All right. So couldn't it, the argument also be that, okay, Gaddafi was somehow a dictator, so perhaps all these were happening, but then they were well covered, so we did not know?
I think for anybody who knows the roots, that is plied by such young folks. And these are folks coming from Jamestown, Newtown, Shukura, and other, shanty areas of the capital. They would go through Boko and then cross into Burkina Faso, then get to a place in Niger called Agadez. So from Agadez, the Berbers or Tuareg people would smuggle them across the desert. Harriet, a good number of those who carry out this dangerous journey do not make it alive. So they get marooned on the desert sometimes, then they thirst or hunger to death. But those that are able to make it would want to work for a while in Libya, then pay some other smugglers to smuggle them across the Mediterranean Sea. So all along we've known that dark-skinned people, since Gaddafi's time, were discriminated against. And it's something that IOM, the International Organization on Migration, has had so many reports on. But the Western military intervention has only accentuated such excesses. And therefore, we can't, the buck stops with those who decided to use brute force to topple Colonel Gaddafi.
All right. I'm going to ask you the same question. What are your general impression about what is happening in Libya?
Good morning, Ghana. I think Irbard has spoken at length about the military interventions that happened and the aftermath. But it's not just Libya. We cannot just narrow it down to Libya, because we have Kuwait, we have Qatar, we have just recent, we have Morocco.
Yeah.
All of these places, we have black people being discriminated against. We have them being molested. Some of them are really maltreated. They die, and all that. But I think that Libya has come out because of the numbers and the fact that they're all going to Italy. Most of them want to enter Italy, or from Italy to other European countries. I have read that the Italian government actually paid for these Libyans to keep the Africans from getting to Lampedusa, or for that matter, entering Italy at all. And that is what has created this problem. So if you look at the whole scenario, you can just put it at the doorsteps of those who actually started this whole thing, like Irbard said. So for now, we can only say that we have to ask ourselves the reasons why these young people would leave, their various countries through such horrendous places just to get to Europe. So it means that there is some problem wherever they're coming from. Yeah. As young people, they do not have jobs. As young people, they have great expectations. As young people, they feel that out there is probably how they're going to make it. Because when people even get out there, they don't tell them anything. No one actually comes to tell you that, life is really tough. And they might not even tell you that we die. Some people die before we get there. But you assume that everything it's okay. But when we start calling them slaves, that's where I have a problem. Because from my understanding, when it got to slavery, we were forced.
Yeah.
This one we took ourselves. You understand?
But the initial thoughts of these people was not that I'm going into slavery. They thought they were going to cross over to Europe, as you rightly said. So the slavery is as a result of the fact that some people are now coming in to trade them off because their situation is precarious, because they cannot sustain themselves anymore. Isn't it the case?
You see, I still have that difficulty with slavery. Even if they're being, grabbed. You've taken yourself somewhere, and out of that, something else is happening. They're trading in human beings.
Yeah.
You understand? It's a business. It is not something that the Libyans decided at one time that we're going to enslave people. We're going to grab people from Africa and sell them. Yeah. No, I don't think that was the whole idea. I think that what happened was the Africans are here. First and foremost, they were supposed to be going to work. If it was an organized journey, somebody might have been responsible for them. But each person goes on its own. So you get there, and if you don't get a job, you go somewhere. And because they are outnumbered, then you become somebody else's property and you're sold.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah. So somebody's taking advantage of you.
So someone's taking advantage of you.
The same way our forefathers were taken advantage of.
That's a very debatable. It's still debatable because we're still wondering whether the exchange of mirrors and stuff did not take place.
All right. So you have difficulty accepting that it's a slave trade.
Yeah, I have difficulty.
Human beings are traded.
Yes, there's human trafficking, there's human trading going on, which is wrong. At this time and age, it's wrong.
All right.
And I just feel like governments have failed the youth, and that is why.
And I agree with Mommy. I form part of a certain demographic. I'm a youth.
Yes.
I have people here before I went to the States for capacity building, people I attended university here with, and they are unemployed. The deluge of emails I get weekly about people who say they want to eke out a living and they can make do with any menial job. And I'll give you a piece of statistic. Between 2016 and 2017, tertiary institutions across this country churned out some whopping 75,000 graduates. Out of those graduates, I wouldn't want to say government, I would say the state. So it doesn't look like an MPP or an NDC thing.
Yeah.
Government was able, or the state was able to provide jobs for only 5,000 people. So Harriet, where does this country expect the remaining 70,000 people to get jobs?
Okay.
During my days with the diplomatic corps, anytime I used the Kanda Highway to go into Airport Residential, and I saw people queue at the Czech embassy, I would be wondering, what are you going to the Czech Republic to do? But there is so much despondency, and I agree with Mommy that we feel let down by the state. Anybody who thinks everything is okay is a direct beneficiary of the rot we have in sub-Saharan Africa. So I believe there should be deliberate policies by governments across the sub-region to create jobs for young people. People go to school for 18 days or 18 years or 20 years just to come out and join an association for unemployed graduates. What about semi-literate people? What about stark illiterates? What do they do? So we are sitting on a ticking time bomb, and if we don't accompany this burgeoning youth bulge with the needed, job opportunities, I believe stopping the carnage in Libya is going to be difficult for us.
I agree with you, say that joblessness is one of the causes for the situation that we find ourselves in. But then, is that an excuse?
It's no excuse. It's definitely no excuse. But you can't also blame them. You see, when we look at the kinds of people that we're hearing, these are not university graduates. These are people who do not have any, maybe, skill. So the only thing they know is to go and hustle. So you get a lot of them coming from impoverished areas, and all they want to do is earn a living. Then you ask yourself, what kind of an education are we giving to our people? Because you just don't have to educate someone for the sake of education. You must educate the person to be able to cater for himself or herself. Yeah. So if we are not giving them that kind of training, if we are not churning out employable people, then definitely we're going to have serious problems with employment. Now what we have here is a bunch of young people leaving because they don't know anything else but to go and hustle. Some of them probably have never stepped into a classroom. Some of them might have been dropped out of the school along the way. Now, what kind of policies do we put in place? What kind of educational reforms can we do to ensure that these young people, even when they are not graduates, can still get a job, can still fend for themselves? That is where we should be looking at.
But, Mommy, it will shock you that even though we put these people within a certain social class, look, do you know there are people who work in your profession that can't make $100 a month?
Of course. Of them.
Yes. So the despondency is real. And I've seen bankers, colleagues who are working in the banking sector, who would actually jettison this job and go do a menial job in Europe or in the US, for example.
The person will go through the desert.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
that's the difference. Yeah, that person.
The push-pull factor cannot be taken away. You see, when you travel out of your country to seek greener pastures elsewhere, then it means things are not okay back home.
Of course.
Yes. So therefore, I think if we want to have an overarching resolution to this crisis, this migration crisis, it's just like the rural-urban migration we have in Ghana. See how the capital is choked.
Yeah.
There are no television stations where you can work in your village where you come from. So there is an influx into a certain direction. So therefore, to solve this problem and cut the artery of such an influx, then you would look at the root causes of the main reasons that push people to want to go to Libya. Nobody would want to go work with people that don't like him or that don't like them. You'd want to work in an environment that is safe, that is conducive. But they use Libya as a stepping stone. People who are working with you here would jump at an opportunity to go to Italy. But I believe how you get there is what we are discussing now. And we need to squarely blame governments across the sub-region for doing very little to create a conducive environment. I get abashed when I'm invited to speak to universities, and then I go and tell people 21 laws of starting a business. 5 laws of being an entrepreneur, when there is no deliberate government policy to provide startup capital. So we are all talk, but very little on pragmatism. That is why as a youth, I believe that as much as possible we should empathize with the and teeming young people here, some that are stark illiterate, others that are semi-literate with no skill set, as Mommy is talking about, and highly educated people. There are people that are pursuing their PhD in Ghana and they have no jobs.
Yeah.
So therefore government has to be blamed.
We can empathize with people who are embarking on these perilous journeys. But then I think much as we do, we need also to face the situation head on and see all the sectors that are playing in this. Yes, the leaders might have failed you, policymakers might have failed you, but you yourself, why should you fail yourself?
In fact, I don't understand how you mean failing themselves.
You have made that decision by yourself that this is the way to go. You could have made the same decision to stay here and do something else. Couldn't you have?
If there was that opportunity to do, you could have. If there was. You see, a lot of them...
So it is a general acceptance by the two of you that, okay, they didn't have anything else to do and there is no opportunity for them.
There's no opportunity. It's desperation. Desperation is what would send a young person to go stow away. It's desperation that would send a young person, having heard that this journey is not an easy one, to say that I will go.
I asked the question because during the Libyan crisis, and Ghana was repatriating its citizens into Ghana, at the same time, there were others leaving the country into the crisis. Much as you're aware of the situation in Libya, people were still on the journey towards Libya.
Maybe even this morning, some people
packed their
backpacks and then headed towards Agadez in Niger.
Yeah.
And you see, you can't treat this in isolation. Times are really hard in Ghana.
Of course.
Not only Ghana, everywhere else.
I'll say this with tongue in cheek. You remember the Black Queens? There was a competition in Canada a few years ago. Then we lost out. I don't know whether at the group stage or we had gotten to the quarterfinal. And those were national heroines. Everybody was celebrating the Black Queens. When we were kicked out of the competition, do you know some of the players actually ran away and they didn't come back to Ghana?
Yeah.
I know the U.S. Embassy in Accra has got a policy to do retraining for our prison wardens.
Yeah.
In fact, a high-ranking member that was taken for retraining ran. He didn't want to come back to Ghana.
Yeah.
So therefore, you see, there is a sense with this profession you do, you wait for an opportunity for people to do capacity building. Some people will just not come back. So there is a certain sense that...
But the issue is that these people that we are talking about, that they do not have any opportunities, and they are despondent and all that, they say we're able to raise some money, good sum of money, 3,000, 2,000, to be able to embark on this journey. You have been able to raise that money. Couldn't you have put it to good use right here in Ghana?
3,000.
Yeah, you have raised it to make that journey. Couldn't you have put it to use in Ghana?
Some of them have borrowed. Some of them have had to sell properties to try and make it. 3,000, 5,000 might sound like a great deal of money, but you and I know, in this country today, honestly, that is nothing. Okay. You cannot really do anything with that kind of money, especially when you have not been trained to do anything.
All right.
So it becomes very difficult.
All right.
And if we are to look at it, look at the silence from the AU. We didn't even hear anything. I was expecting that when this thing even happened here in our country, I would have heard that our minister, minister had called the Libyan ambassador, for instance, to come and tell us why they were doing that to our children and our brothers and our whatnot. But nothing. It seems everybody was like, well, that's it. There's nothing we can do.
They wanted it for themselves.
That's it. You go there by yourself, so you have to fish that and come out of it yourself, which is not the way to go. What we could have done, I keep looking at it, I say, look, these guys, as they go, they're going to farms anyway. Most of them are going to the farms. When they get to Italy, they're going to be picking tomatoes and stuff like that. And apples. So can't we as a country negotiate that every year we will send this number of youth to these farms, do the work, and come back? You understand?
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't have to go through such. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, even when you're a professional in this country, and you go out there, unless you've got a job waiting, you're going to be doing menial jobs.
Yeah.
And those same jobs, if they're offered to you here, you find them demeaning. You will not do. How many of our graduates are willing to go and serve in restaurants, are willing to go and keep hotels or the gardens clean? With your qualification, you wouldn't want to do that. But
your friends will see you and laugh at you.
And laugh at you. But go across, just jump over to UK. Go to the States, and they are there doing those same menial jobs. And they think that it's okay because of the money.
Yeah.
Well, the money is the whole thing.
Exactly. Let's look at the trade itself as it's happening in Libya currently. We've given reasons as to why this should happen, but the trade itself has when the news broke, everybody is calling it any negative adjective they want to use. The international community, everybody. But then, what are who are these people who are involved in this trade, and what should the international community actually be doing?
I think not until CNN fixated their cameras to capture the auction that was taking place, and the AU was close to lethargic about this, even though we've known that this has been simmering under the surface for quite some time. And later maybe we'll look at Ghana's response and the Foreign Affairs Ministry's response. The little challenge Honorable Ayoko Botre had was that there are parallel governments in Libya currently. There is one in Tripoli, there is another in the eastern city of Tobruk. And during my days with the diplomatic corps, then Colonel Gaddafi was around. So we had a substantive ambassador. Now we don't. We have a chargé, who doesn't, occupy the same status as an ambassador. So it's very difficult. Is he representing the Tripoli government or the Tobruk government?
Exactly.
So that created a catch-22 situation for our own Foreign Affairs Ministry. But I believe there are two schools of thought. And I don't want to downplay the brutality that is going on in Libya. We are in direct talks with people that are involved over there. The Arabs and also our young people here that have gone there. The first story we heard was that these people were being traded off. So an Arab from the Middle East would buy a Ghanaian of maybe 28 or 30. You buy the person at 400 USD. What do you do with the person?
Anything you wish.
You understand. So the second school of thought, which is a bit euphemistic, is that these were people who attempted to traverse the Mediterranean Sea, which is illegal.
Yes.
And I think Mommy or you made a reference to the fact that the folks from the other side have paid people to make sure that influx stops. So when you are captured, you are kept in a prison. So for you to, gain your freedom, somebody has to pay
ransom for you.
A certain ransom. So therefore, these are the two schools of thought, and I don't want us to belabor the point.
I think the two could be happening side by side. Not that only one of such is happening. The two could be happening because we saw the video of the auction, or somebody, he can dig, how much do you pay for this? And they were calling up bids. So we've seen that. The ransoming part too, we do know about some people calling homes for help to save their lives. So the two could be happening alongside.
Yes. So therefore, there is complete anarchy on the streets of Libya currently. I would add my voice to the chorus from Mommy that when you're a young person, it's better to stay home and soak gari rather than taking a lurch into the unseen. And again, ISIS is very active in Libya. And so as we get these young people back, as much as possible, let's try to reintegrate them. I shudder to use the word reintegration because before we started, Mommy, she was averse to pumping any taxpayer money into reintegration. But I think it will be the height of irresponsibility to bid them farewell at the Kotoka International Airport and give them money for transport. Maybe some of them have been exposed to militant training. So national security should have an interest in this so that we can thoroughly debrief them and find out which areas they were in during the time they were in Libya and whether they had any interface with ISIS so that we don't, bring back people that are ISIS trained, and that could in the long haul pose a serious national security threat for Ghana.
Okay.
Madam Rodele, I think the integration will have to be looked at in the sense that were they in school, those who can still go back to school or be retrained. Probably some of them run away from school or from other apprenticeships. If we can put them back, that would be the reintegration.
Okay.
But apart from that, I don't see how we can reintegrate Ghanaians who left voluntarily and have been brought back.
Anyway, but these are still our brothers and sisters who are being detained in squalid conditions, and in actual fact, we should also be thinking of what we can do as a country to make sure that they do not leave the country anymore. And I'll pick your quick advice on what Ghana should do to maintain them.
I think we already have problems with armed robbery. We have problems with the land guard system. The worst that can happen is that we add up to the problems we have. And maybe these people can shoot an AK. And therefore, I believe that we can't just leave them to be roaming the streets of Ghana. As much as possible, I wouldn't call it a detention. We can keep them for a while to find out which areas they went to. And we have a good relationship with international intelligence agencies. Europol and Interpol will come in handy to provide some more biodata about the areas these people went to. So that if someone was a cobbler before he left, we can set him up again. If someone was a valet, you know, directing people to park at a restaurant or a hotel, we can set them up again. So whatever they were doing before they left, we can sharpen their skills and make sure they are fully reintegrated back into the Ghanaian society. They are just like ex-convicts. That is why I have a problem with our criminal justice system. Atai does a few decades in jail, or Combien does a few decades in jail. Finally, when they are, you know, freed from detention or incarceration, they come back and nobody really cares. Many of the ex-cons become landguards. So therefore, there should be a deliberate policy to reintegrate these young people back into the Ghanaian society.
All right. What should we be doing?
All right, I think that we should, as much as possible, try to get them to do something. There are lots of things that probably, first and foremost, we have to look at them psychologically, get them examined, because some of them are really traumatized, and that could also affect them. And then I'm looking at a situation where we could get some of them the reintegration, but by training them into various skills. But the most important thing is to find a way to set out something that would be a deterrent for any other person wanting to go. Because if continuously they're going to go and come back, and then we will just do all these things and then let them go, then it means that anybody can decide to go. So first and foremost, we have to get parents together, especially the areas. We have to counsel people, continuously talk to people, and let them understand that this is what we're going to do now. But if you let your ward go, the next time you will be held responsible for your ward.
Who is over 18?
Who's over 18? Yes, no, but you'll be responsible. Otherwise, if you're over 18, we might as well also sit down and say you're over 18. You understand? Because continuously, when we continue to bring them, spend our money, and then they come back and nobody does anything to them, then it becomes a problem. But if we were asking them to pay for their airfare, for instance, maybe some of them will not go again.
All right. And I'll do 2 messages, and we'll hang the discussion for now. And you didn't send your name, but you said, the issue is that those who made the journey took some amount of money, some $5,000, $6,000. How did they come by this amount? Couldn't they invest? The issue is that almost everybody in Ghana wants to be rich as fast as possible. That is the view of one of my guests, listeners and viewers out there. Let me do this second one too. He said, yes, the leaders of this country are not helping, so the media, you can say the truth only. Okay, so the position here is that the leaders are not helping and the media should come out and see what the situation is. So we are doing that this morning, and I hope you have appreciated our work this morning, talking about the slave trade happening in Libya. And as Mother Rodalyn rightly said, there is still some in Kuwait and other places as well.
So many places.
And so we all need to advise ourselves and our brothers and sisters who are, especially the one who is picking up the bag from your side this morning, to embark on this particular journey. Tell that person it is real. And it's a perilous journey, that he or she wouldn't want to endure. Let's save lives. Let's protect our brothers and sisters. And thanks very much to you, Madam Rodalyn Imuru Ayana, who is a policy analyst. And thanks to you also.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks very much, Irbard Ibrahim, who is a Security International Relations expert and CEO of Irbard's Security Consult. The morning continues. The breakfast show continues right now with the Paper Review segment after a short break. Please stay with us.